Hey y'all, so I wanted to make a quick video about something that's been going on in the background and I haven't really talked about it at all. I don't think anyone's really discussed it or even really knows anything about it. If you've been watching my videos over the last couple of days, I have been talking about Jeremy's pending cases, his open cases right now. And one of the things I talked about was the bond for $50,000. The cases may be thrown out because there was supposedly this email between Amir Ladan and the prosecutors, and it stated that they would not go after Jeremy for anything before 2021. So everything may be thrown out, but for right now, that $50,000 bond is kind of hanging over his head. I received a phone call yesterday from Jeremy because he was very upset. He had a conversation with one of his family members. I don't know if I'm going to say like who it is, but you may be able to guess who it is. He had a conversation with one of the family members, and she said that she was not going to pay his bond. He was very upset. Some of the correctional officers had to kind of get involved and, calm him down a bit because he was sort of like losing it on the phone with her. And I want to give you a little bit of the background as to why he was so upset. So I've said this before, maybe like in passing, but before Jeremy was incarcerated, so before he went to prison, he sort of had this lifestyle where he paid all the bills. So Rania, who is his wife, she would work periodically in a hospital. She's a nurse, and she would work periodically, but she wasn't really working full time. And so Jeremy was taking care of everything. This was a major issue in Jeremy's family, even before Vidler and Ramsey and the impersonations. It was an issue because his family felt like Rania was using him. So when Jeremy started calling his family from jail and asking for bond amounts and asking for help with this and that, they started to really get irritated because they knew that although Rania was working, she wasn't contributing like anything. When Jeremy started to get arrested in 2019, I think they were a little more open to helping him out, and then again in 2020, and then again in 2021. But I think that they've sort of lost their patience with the entire process, and maybe even Jeremy. Before Jeremy went to prison, we all were pretty much prepared for it. I think we had about a year or so to really prepare for him to go off to prison. Before he left, Jeremy and his family told Rania that she needed to ask for more time at work. So instead of working 2 days a week, she needed to work 3 or 4 days per week because she needed to pay some extra bills around the house. That was the plan because Metro State was no longer going to be around. Jeremy's extra income was no longer going to be around, and she would actually have to start paying bills. So that was the plan. But what ended up happening was Jeremy was making a lot of money from eBay. So instead of Rania going to work, she was like, well, just give me the money that you all are making from eBay, and I will use that for the bills. Now, this is where the story gets a little confusing because there are two sides. So Jeremy's family claims that they gave Rania money every month. They paid all her bills, even her phone bill, every month. Rania claims they never paid a dime. They never gave her anything, and that they're lying. His family said that they have receipts for when they did pay the mortgage, because the expectation was that they were going to be paying the mortgage for Jeremy and Rania as well. And they said that they also have some sort of receipt showing that they gave Rania $5,000 cash. Rania said that she never received a dime from them. They never gave her anything in cash. While Jeremy was away, they were also having a lot of fights, like fights in public, fights in parking lots. It was a mess. So at some point, the mortgage stopped getting paid. I think that the family was just kind of like over it. And they were telling Rania that, you need to go to work. You need to work 3-4 days a week. We will watch the baby, but you need to go to work. Rania never increased her time at work. In fact, she was put on a contract by her job because she kept calling out. So they put her on a contract and stated that if she kept having all of these call outs, that they were going to fire her. Again, Jeremy is incarcerated during like all of this. And so while this is happening, the mortgage is not being paid. Like no one's paying it because Rania's not working, and the family is just like, I'm not dealing with her, and they're not going to pay it for her. About halfway through Jeremy's prison sentence, Rania received a visit from the sheriff's office. The mortgage company had started the foreclosure process. Luckily, they were able to sort of come up with a payment plan with the mortgage company, And a part of the plan was that they were to make all their payments on time, and if they missed any payments, then they would restart the foreclosure process. The mortgage company gave them the second chance right before Jeremy was released. So once he was released, he was able to kind of talk to his family, and they came to some sort of agreement as far as what would go towards their mortgage. Rania and Jeremy's family were not speaking at all. They just weren't talking. And I think that's because Jeremy came back, and so they didn't really have a reason to talk anymore, and they'd had so many fights while he was away that I think they were just kind of done with each other. When Jeremy was released, he was not working. Rania had to pay most of the bills, including whatever was coming from eBay. And she wasn't used to that, and she was getting really upset with him. That pissed off his family even more because they felt like, okay, he took care of you. You didn't pay a single bill for almost 20 years. Now's your time to sort of step in and help him, and you're giving him a hard time about it. So when Jeremy was incarcerated again at the end of 2022, I think that there was this understanding or assumption that the family would continue to pay for their mortgage. At this point, eBay had been shut down, so there was no money coming in from eBay. They were supposed to list things on like their own website, but I don't know if that ever came to fruition. But no money was coming in from eBay, so it would have come like directly from Jeremy's family. Rania was still only working 2 days a week. She was still on a contract with her job. She was not working more, and it was sort of like, what do we do? Because Jeremy's not around, and she refuses to work more, and the family's kind of tapped out. It was pretty bad when Jeremy first got home. I mean, I remember when he was telling me that he would have to beg her for money because she was not giving him money to go to job interviews and things like that. So he would ask me for gas money. So I was giving him some gas money every now and then so he could go to job interviews. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. And while all that craziness is going on, Rania and the family are going back and forth because she's accusing them of stealing money from him. It was an absolute hot mess. And I'm like, someone has to figure something out because I'm not going to continue to give a grown man gas money. I get that people are going through hard times, but we're not, 22 anymore. You should have gas money. So it was irritating me. And if you're claiming that your marriage is so this and so that, why did you marry someone who can't support you at your lowest? You should have married someone who would support you. But that's another topic for another day. We won't get into that right now. So about a week ago, Jeremy and a family member got into a little bit of an argument because he said, oh, you're going to pay my mortgage this month, right? Because I'm here and Rania can't pay it. And the family member said, no. They're like, I'm not paying it because I noticed that Rania is spending thousands of dollars and saying that she can't pay the mortgage. The family member noticed that Rania was spending thousands of dollars. So she spent thousands on, plane tickets and travel is what they're claiming. She spent a lot of money on Christmas, which I understand, you want your 2-year-old to have a lot, but she's 2, so she probably wouldn't notice if you didn't spend $300 on one item. And supposedly she spent about $1,200 on medication for their dog. There were other miscellaneous items, but I understand that people see their pets as their children, their family members, but if it's between your human family being put out on the street and saving your dog who's had multiple health issues, it might be time to send old Yeller on to glory. I'm just saying. So the family has put their feet down, whatever. They're not going to pay the mortgage anymore. And now there's this new bond. And Jeremy was saying, well, you guys have $5,000. I know you have that. And they were saying it's not the $5,000, it's the $50,000 because they would ask for financial information, of course, for payments. And I don't know, they're just saying right now, I don't know if that could change, but they're saying right now they're not going to pay. They're not going to help as far as anything having to do with a bond. I think they're trying to implement a little tough love, which I don't think they've ever really done. Or maybe they are just so disgusted by the accusations against them as far as theft and things like that. They're just kind of over it. I don't know. I know that Jeremy asked me to ask one of my good friends of over 11 years for, the bond. He has the money. That's nothing to him. But I asked him and I kind of explained what was going on. And he said, I would help you, but I'm not going to help him in this situation. He said that, he needs to sit there and he needs to find out where his wife is. So with everything going on between the bond and between the VOP and between the foreclosure, it's just a lot. You know, I do care about Jeremy, but I think he's burned a lot of bridges with people, and I don't think that people are really like willing to help him because, you know, I don't want to say it, but like, you know, when there's money involved, it gets a little funny with Jeremy. It gets a little funny. That's all I'll say. And so I think he's burned some bridges.